Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. It's going to be a great adventure. We're going to be talking about a topic that I've never spoken on this show before, have kind of inferred to it in different areas, so some of it might sound a little bit familiar, but it's a new concept. Anyway, so we are going to be talking about the subtle bodies. And so I think anyone that has listened to my show regular or read any of my books or articles on soulhealer.com are familiar with the concept of chakras. So the chakras are energy centers that are inside our body, and there are 7 major chakras that line up along our spine. But in addition to the chakras, which process information from the world around us, we also have something that are called subtle bodies. So let me backtrack a little bit to kind of put this in perspective. And so we all have our personal space. We all know what our personal space is. You get on an elevator and somebody stands too close to you and you're like, take a step to the left. And it's because they're standing in our personal space. But another word for our personal space is our auric field. And so it is the energy space that is around us. And that auric field is actually made up of different bodies. There are 4 specific subtle bodies that make up that energy field around us. And the subtle bodies each whole process different and very specific kinds of energies. And so the slowest subtle body is the one that is closest to our physical body. So if you think about it, we are manifest into the 3-dimensional world because we are at a density level. We're all at the same density level that we can see, feel, and interact with each other. When we move into the subtle bodies, they're vibrating at a higher frequency and at a higher rate. So one, we can't see them. I mean, unless you're psychic, and then you can do that kind of stuff. But as you move further away from the bodies, as you move further out, the vibration, the frequency goes higher, and it is able to hang on to that kind of information. So I'm going to start on the outside and work my way into the physical body. And so the first subtle body that we have, so this is the one that's on the outside, is called the causal body. And the causal body is what connects us with source. And so if you look at Kabbalistic literature, and they don't use causal body, they have like their own Hebrew word for it that I'm not even going to try to say. But it's what separates us from like the cosmic consciousness, from the unity of the world, and it's what individualizes us into a being. And so so there's all of this vast space, and then there's all of us in our little causal body cocoon that makes us be an individual. And it's through this body that we connect with our higher self, we connect with source, we connect with God. And its goal is to guide us back into wholeness. And so we've talked about like listening to your guides and listening to source and paying attention to that subtle voice inside. And that voice, that information is what comes to us via the causal body. And so again, we can choose to listen to those faint whispers that we get, those little inside secrets and messages, or we can choose to not. And my experience has been is when you choose to not, you usually end up suffering the consequences for not paying attention. Moving inward, we come to the mental body. And as the name implies, it is the area of our subtle self that holds our thoughts. So as part of this, there's the conscious mind. So as you're paying attention, you are consciously aware of what's going on. I mean, hopefully. Then there's your subconscious mind that works underneath the surface and is responsible for the judgments and programming that we have. It is where our beliefs are formed and it creates our personality. So if something happens and we will have a thought about it. And that thought can activate the bodies moving downstream till we have a physical reaction. We'll get more into that process. But again, this is where we form our beliefs. So if we have trauma, the thoughts that are tied to it, the responses that we have, so if you think I'm invisible or I'm fat or I'm this or I'm that, all of that data is stored in the mental body, and it forms the basis of our reactions. Because if something didn't bother us and if something wasn't programmed into us that was negative, usually it's negative, it could be positive, because you can have a positive reaction to a situation, but most people don't latch onto those. They just latch onto the negative ones. So if you have a negative reaction to a situation, it's because a thought, whether conscious or unconscious, has been activated. And again, this sits in our mental body. Moving in, getting slimmer and slimmer all the time, is our emotional body. And so the emotional body, another way of thinking of it, is energy in motion, emotion. And the emotional body provides energy to our thoughts. And so we have a thought, and then the emotional body activates it and sends it in. It's where we have our emotional reactions to things. And it's the energy, it is what produces the energy for us to have an emotional reaction in our body, or a reaction in our body in general. Moving it even further is the etheric body, and it is the template or the blueprint for the physical. And so when we are lining things up for manifestation, because everything has to move from God or source in order for it to be manifest on the physical plane. And so the etheric body is kind of like the blueprint for manifestation. So if you think of a design project, it's like you have the thought, like, I'm going to go and buy this house and remodel it. That's the thought, or I'm going to do this on this plan. And then the emotional body is the one that kind of gets things going and gets things moving. And then the etheric body is actually the blueprint that you're going to follow in order to have this thing be produced in the physical world. What's interesting about the etheric body is that on an intuitive level, people can have, I'm going to say, health concerns that present themselves on the etheric level, but not necessarily on the physical level. Or what I've also seen is that people that work with supplements and stuff, and I'm not knocking supplements, but if they work with supplements, but they don't deal with their own emotional baggage or mental baggage, they will take the disease and kind of push it out of the physical body back into the etheric body, and it'll just sit there. Or I've seen it also where someone will, they'll come for a session and I'm talking and I'm making some comment about, oh, well, there's all this energy on your gallbladder. And they say to me, I don't have a gallbladder. So physically, they don't have a gallbladder. But on their etheric level, there's mega issues going on, which doesn't surprise me that they don't have a gallbladder because it's there and very obvious. And so issues in the etheric body are always precursors to issues on a physical level. Okay, so these are all the bodies, okay? And so as energetic beings, our energy is supposed to move into us and out of us, into us and out of us. And it does that via the chakras. And actually, I have a picture for you guys, and hopefully you'll be able to. Okay, so there's your body. Look how nice and thin you are in black and white. Anyway, so where the little wavy lines are is the location of each of the chakras. So the first chakra goes down, the second through sixth chakra go out, and then the seventh chakra goes up. And the little dotted lines are the different bodies, the etheric body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the causal body. And so when something happens, energy will actually come in through the causal body. And so from the external space, it's at a higher vibration. And what the chakras do is that they transform the energy from a higher level to a lower level, the level of that body. And it allows you and your subtle bodies to process that information, do something with that information, or pass it along to the next body. And, and the same thing happens in reverse. If there's something that we think, or there's something that we want, or there's something that we're experiencing, I've done multiple shows on how we are projecting our energy out into the world, and we're all feeling it. And this is the mechanism in which that happens, is that I have my energy and I'm sending it out through these different chakras, through the bodies, into the world around me. But in the same breath, I'm receiving energy from the world around me through these different bodies until I experience it on some level in the physical body. And so if we have some kind of a health issue, it can show up in the physical body, but it also can show up prior to manifestation in the physical body. In the etheric body, it can show up in the emotional body as, an undealt with emotion. It can show up as some kind of belief or limiting belief that we have. Not so much in the causal body, because that kind of functions in a different way. But you can sit there and find where there is misaligned energy in all of these different bodies. So let me take this off. So I have an experiment for all of you to try. And so let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and close your eyes just for a minute. And I want you to imagine that I have a nice juicy lemon. And I'm rolling the lemon around on the table to get the juices flowing and it nice and succulent. Now I'm taking my knife and I'm cutting that lemon into quarters. And I'm picking up a quarter of that lemon and I'm sticking it in my mouth and biting down. So my question to you, and obviously, with the chat, it's a little bit challenging. My question to you is, did your mouth start to water? Did it pucker a little bit with the thought of me taking that lemon and sticking it in my mouth and chewing on it? Because the thought of me chewing on that lemon created an emotional reaction in your body, which went through the etheric body and created a physiological response, causing your mouth to water or your mouth to pucker or for you to kind of cringe at the thought. But it created a reaction. And that was just on a thought. That was just on an example. So imagine what it's like when stuff happens in the physical world around us. We're constantly interacting with that energy and those dynamics, and it is always playing off of our bodies. So that, my friends, is an introduction to the subtle bodies. I hope that makes sense to you. It makes sense to me, so it's all good. Anyway, so, and if you would like to learn more about this information comes out of my book, Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4, Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4. It is not available on Amazon. The only place that you can purchase it, and this goes really into depth into the aura and the chakras and the subtle bodies and how to start to recognize when you're out of alignment, because The 2x4 is you getting sick and experiencing some kind of disease. So you want to avoid the cosmic 2x4. Pretty tricky name, I know. But anyway, it's available on my website, soulhealer.com. You can also go there. I've been posting a bunch of articles there. You can reach out to me and set up a time for a private consultation. That's soulhealer.com. If you are watching this show in a rerun type format and a not live stream, and you would like to join the festivities and get a free on-air psychic reading, go to my YouTube channel. It is the best and easiest place to get tied into the chat. And that is Just Energy Radio on YouTube. That's 3 words, Just Energy Radio on YouTube. And I look forward to seeing you there. And lastly, please connect with me on my different social media. I would really appreciate it. There's YouTube, Substack. I post a lot on Substack, Twitter, and then Rumble. And, like, subscribe, whatever. They're all free. They're all free. And it would help me out. It would increase my stats. And I would appreciate that. Oh, where am I? There I am. There I am. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the chat room and see, God, there's a ton of comments. Okay. And go up to the top. Okay. Holy crap. Marco, you're here already. Hey, Marco. And he says, upvoted hair and lips, big upvote. Thank you, Marco. And then ERRT Radio says, happy Thursday, Dr. Rita, and you look amazing as always. Thank you. The shutdown is not stopping from doing anything. May I have a free reading number 3, please? Thank you. You mean you don't have any snap card for me there, ERRT Radio? But you sure can have a reading. Let's see, number 3. All right, I need to shuffle these a little bit because I almost forgot to grab them. But I remembered in the 11th hour. Okay. All right, ERRT Radio, let's see. And this is your card for today. Oh, and before I do this, and I might need to refocus, but did you guys notice that the energy shifted on Monday? Like it was uptight, 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 uptight. And then Monday, there's just been this kind of chill to it, which I just thought I would mention it. Okay, ERRT Radio. Okay, interesting. So ERRT Radio, I get the impression that you're kind of on a new journey. And I'm not really saying you're getting in your car and you're going somewhere, although that might be the case. But I feel more on an adventuresome work-related type journey. I feel like you're pretty excited about the whole idea. I get the impression that you haven't really worked out the details. I feel like, you're doing really good at just allowing spirit to kind of direct you in where you need to go and not pushing as far as oh, well, this is what I need to do. Oh, this is what I need to do. And I feel like that it's working out well, even though I feel like this is still pretty much early in the stage and in that process. So good. Good job. Well, what happened to Mikey? All right, let's see. Hi, Unar. Nice to see you. Oh, God. So ERRT Radio says, in New York, they're already doing their prayer times on the sidewalks. Okay. Hey, Mike McCaskill. Nice to see you. All right. So Unar says, Dr. Rita, please choose my number tonight. Unar, I'm getting a 1 for you, so you're going to get a 1. Okay, and that's your card for today. Okay. So Unar, I mean, the word that I'm getting for you is free. I get the impression that, and this might sound kind of weird, but you kind of like got yourself out of this trap that was not of your, well, I mean, you participated, but kind of not of your own making. And I feel like you're like cleaning off the remnants of that and them, and just using your energy to go forward in the direction that you want to go. Thus the freedom, because I feel like there's always been some little Klingon hanging on to you, keeping you from you expressing yourself in the way that you wanted, in the time that you wanted. And now you're like, psh, I'm just doing me. And I just feel like this enthusiasm and joy tied to that emotional feeling. So cool. All right, let's see. All right, Mike wants a reading number 2. I guess I can't say your energy's black. Huh. All right, number 2, if I have to. Okay, and that's your card for today. Okay, interesting, Mike. You know, you get what you ask for. So I'm just feeling like there are just too many cooks trying to spoil the brew. You know, and it's kind of like what I was saying to Unar is I feel like you know where you want to go, but I just feel like there are all of these other people that are trying to like invade that space and keep you from getting where you want to go. And you wish they would just all go away and just let you do your thing. You know, like micromanage would be a really great word to use for the energy that I'm feeling. You know, and I feel like it's uncomfortable for you because you're used to kind of doing your own thing. And even though you've worked for somebody else and worked under somebody else, you've always kind of been your own boss. But I feel like, you know, micromanage, that's the best word that I can use. So if that makes sense to you and it's vibing with you, I would love to hear your comment and reply. And thank you for coming to the show. And I hope you come back because it would be fun having you here. Okay, let's see. I have to scroll here. A lot of blabbing. Okay. Amy. She just says, hi, Dr. Rita. Happy Thursday. Hi, Amy. Happy Thursday back. Hey, Julie, with a very super long handle thing on there. Nice to see you. And Amy would like a reading number 2, and you sure can, Amy. Oh, all right. So, Amy, before I even mix for you, okay. So I did a show this past weekend, and I'm doing the reading, okay. And so I when I'm at a show, I use these cards. So if you work with me in person, we just have a conversation, and I just kind of go off from there. But at a show, because people really don't know what they want to talk about, and I have to come up with something, I'll do a card layout, kind of an aura chakra card layout. So this lady, it was in her 5th chakra location, a mass card showed up. So y'all know, all right, let's see if it's still on the bottom. All right, so for anybody that hasn't been here, and of course now I can't find one to save my life. All right, well then never mind. Oh, there goes one. Okay, so these are mass cards. And so if it shows up in the reading, it usually means that there's an energy that's blocked or you're in denial about or somehow don't want to interact with. So in her one spot, she got a mass card. And like I do on this show, I started laying cards over to see where the energy was going to clear. Started with a mass card, flipped a card, it was a mass card, flipped the next card, it was a regular card, but the energy definitely did not clear. Flipped the next card, it was a mass card. Flipped the next card, it was a mass card. I have never had that happen in a reading. And I told the woman, I go, I am going to talk about you on my show tonight. Four basically in a row. Okay, there. It was actually a really good reading, but that caught my attention. I'm just saying. All right, Amy, what do you got going on today? All right, and that's your card for today. So, Amy, what you're showing me is kind of this push-pull thing going on for you. It's like I feel like there's part of you that's kind of like digging and bringing up, maybe probably not intentionally, like old emotional stuff, like reflecting. That's a good word. Reflecting on old things, which is kind of bringing up, old past trauma and stuff. But I feel like in the same breath, it's like there's the other part of you that's really excited and ready to move forward. As they say, you can't bring in new until you get rid of the old. And so I'm not feeling like this, and I'm going to use purging is bad. I mean, I feel like it's really good and really healthy. I feel like you're getting a chance to look at and dig into some really old core issues that you maybe weren't strong enough to address. But I feel like, and maybe this is the important part, so even though it might make you sad or bring up uncomfortable emotions, it's like I feel like you're finding joy in it because you know that it's healing at the same time. So again, this push-pull thing, but I feel like in the big picture of the world, it's good. It's good because you're uncovering stuff that is no longer useful for you anymore. So cool. Okay, let's see. All right, and then Julie. Hey again, Julie. May I please have number 3? Or ma'am, number 3, please. Thank you. You're so welcome. And yes, you can. And as always, if these readings are resonating with you, I would love to get the feedback in the chat. Okay, Julie, what do you got? All right, and that's your card for today. Okay. So they are being pretty specific with me. I get the impression that you have been trying to figure something out and you feel like you know what the answer is or the direction you're supposed to be going, and they are saying stop. I don't know why, they just are. Okay, so I asked why, why that? And the comment I got back was it was going to take you right through the lion's den. And perhaps there is a different route or a different path that will get you to the same place with less trauma tied to it, like less personal trauma tied to it. I feel like the other ways might take a little bit longer, but I feel like you will come out more whole on the other side. I mean, they usually don't like throw these warnings at me, so I'm just going to maybe leave that there. You know, so they're not saying stop, don't move forward. There's definitely, but they are definitely saying, you know, stop and choose your steps, stop and proceed with caution. You know, don't just run out into the middle of the street because there's a car coming. So I think you get it. All right, and Ahora's here. Hey, Ahura. And Yvonne's here. Hey, Yvonne. And she says, hi, Doc. Doctor, can I get a reading number 3, please? You sure can. Number 3. You know, so it seems like there's a lot of people in the room. And so if you're new here and you would like to get a reading, please just, you know, say hello and say, hey, Dr. Rita, your hair looks really great. And I'd like to get a reading. And then give me a number between 1 and 3. And that's how many times I'll shuffle the cards on your behalf. Okay. All right. So Yvonne, ooh, that's your card for today. So Yvonne, so I'm kind of tossed up between these two concepts. One is confusion, and the other word that is coming up is also rejection. You know, and so you're moving forward and it's not moving in the way that you want, and you're not getting the kind of feedback that you are hoping for, which is maybe that's where the confusion is coming from. I get the impression that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing as far as what's going on the planet around you and why you're not getting the kind of reception that you would like. I got nothing. I can't control that or really respond to that. You know, the biggest thing is for you to just keep taking one step in front of the other and moving forward and not give up. That's the biggest advice that I have for today. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay, let's see. Hey, Don, how's it going? And he would like a number 3. Okay, Don, you can have a number 3. All right, Don, and that's your card for today. Okay, so Don, a very interesting energy today. I get the impression that you did something that was, and I'm going to say outside of your box. Now, if I went back 20 years, 40, like if I went like back, it was something that I could see that you maybe would have done at that point in time, but I feel like it is not something that like you would have done in a very long time. How's that? But I feel like it felt really good, and I feel like it felt like a success, and I feel like you just want to climb on the top of the mountain and scream and shout and let everybody know that you did it. And it feels good, and there's not negative energy tied to it, and it was satisfying and filled your heart. And I just want to validate that energy and that feeling, because it is possible. Having that feeling is possible when you own your space and own your boundaries and decide you don't want to do that other stuff anymore. So whatever that was, good job. I'm liking it. Okay, and so, all right. Okay, there's Susan. So hi, Susan. I saw your little note before, but I saw that you put the number 2. So I'm just going to like scroll down to the number 2, and you sure can. You know, and I would just like to say before I move on, you know, if these readings are resonating with you, you know, I would love it if you would go to soulhealer.com, and across the top it says Dr. Rita Live. And you can go to the tip jar and leave me a little something, something. There's a link to use PayPal, as well as shopping carts that you can use a Visa or MasterCard or whatever credit card on. But Dr. Rita Live on soulhealer.com. I would really appreciate it. Okay, thank you. All right, back to Susan. And she wanted a number 2. And that's your card for today. Could you see that? Ooh, let me get rid of this thing. There you go. That's better. Okay. Interesting. So Susan, well, one, welcome to the show. I don't recognize your name, so thank you for stopping in. So Susan, I get the impression that you have been, and I'm going to say deep diving. I feel like you have really like turned your energy into a kind of introverted place so that you can find yourself, separate yourself out from the din of the world. I feel like this place for you is peaceful. I feel like there's just been a lot of static around you, which has been challenging for you to navigate. And so I don't know if this is a normal place for you because you're new, but I feel like it's a really good place. So if you feel like it's weird or you're being abnormal because you turned your energy in, I feel like there is so much peace here that if you're not able to find this place regularly, that perhaps that might be a goal for you, because it really brings you back into the present and kind of puts you back into the flow of energy from the universe. So I think that it's really good. Okay, and then we have Call. All right, I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm just going to call you. Is that? See, I can't even tell if that's like LLI. I'm just going to call you Carl. Don't take it offensively. I mispronounce all the good people's names. And it says, hi, Dr. Rita. Can I also request a reading number 2? Thank you. I am Maria. Okay, Maria, much easier for me to pronounce. And you want 2. Okay, Maria. Uh-oh. Okay, so I mentioned this before, but I'll bring it up again. So these are called maps cards, and they usually show up where there's an energy you don't want to look at, or you're in denial about, or the energy is blocked from coming in. And I will pull cards until I feel the dynamic has cleared. And you got a second mass card. And I'm going to go with this one. I could keep going, but I'm good with this one. Okay, so that's the card that's sitting underneath the blockage, and that's the one I'm going to read. So Maria, I get the impression that there's something that you want to do, or has been playing around in the back of your mind, and I feel like there's been fear that has kept you from like taking that first step, from taking the leap of faith, as they say. Now, and I feel like it might actually even show up for you as a little bit of procrastination. But I feel like you've been kind of massaging this thing for a while, but I also feel like you've made the decision. Like, I feel like there is this internal decision, but not the steps forward. And so if you're afraid to take those steps forward, it is seeming very clear to me, based on your energy, based on like, I don't want to. But the only way to get unstuck is to take that step forward, and then everything will start moving again in your space and in your life. You know, because when we're stuck, it's not just our energy it's that's stuck, it's our whole life becomes stuck. Okay, let's see. And then ERRT Radio has a question. If we are successfully connected to source, it should not matter if anyone is standing too close to us. Not necessarily. If you are really sensitive, you still, I mean, okay, I'm gonna clarify that. It doesn't mean that they're gonna knock you out of your connection, but it won't make it so that you won't necessarily feel them. I mean, because if you're sensitive, you're still going to feel it, even though you might still be in alignment. Did that make sense? All right. Curtis, hey Curtis. And he says, hi, Dr. Rita. I think people get myopic, eventually emotionally deaf. All right, so I don't know if you want to read it, so I'm going to keep scrolling here. All right, let's see. And then Horace says, hello, dear Dr. Rita. Thank you for the talk. How can we improve or activate our ability to hear that inner voice, which is truthful? And may I have your wisdom revelation, please? Number 3, thank you very much. So, Ophora, I have talked about this on the show several times. You know, so some people, it's a voice. You know, some people, it's an image. You know, some people, it's a feeling. You know, so like my listening, like, was terrible. You know, even though now I recognize that they talk to me all the time and I just really didn't listen. You know, and so if you find you're a visual person and you ask a question, then you're going to get an image in your mind, and you may or may not get a voice. The biggest thing is recognizing when the communication happens, regardless of how it happens, because that's how you strengthen it. That's how you validate it. And so, and it doesn't matter. And I know I've said this like on the show a bunch of times. It doesn't matter if you don't necessarily pay attention. And I'm going to caveat that. So my bad story, you wake up in the morning and you think to yourself, oh, I should take a sweater with me. But you look outside and it's a beautiful sunny day and you're like, I'm not going to take a sweater. But then in the middle of the afternoon, the weather changes, or an umbrella. The weather changes, it starts to rain, and you think, oh man, I should have taken that umbrella. Well, you didn't listen to yourself, obviously, because you didn't take the umbrella. But if you sit there and go, oh, I was thinking about taking an umbrella in the morning and I didn't listen, or I didn't pay attention to the image, or I was walking by the umbrella and like something inside of me was like, well, maybe you should take that with you. You know, it's through making those connections of, this is what I experienced in the morning, and it was either validated or not. And that's how you really start working with that muscle of trust, because it's not that you're not receiving the information. You're just either not acknowledging it or not paying attention to it. And so starting to make the connection of, oh, I did receive that information. Okay, I didn't listen to it, but I did receive it. So then after like not receiving it or not paying attention to it enough times, then maybe you'll start paying attention to it. Did that make sense? All right. Now it's Mixie time. Number 3. All righty. All right, my hands just don't want to work. Okay, well, we got a repeat card. There's your card for today. So, Hora, what you're showing me is that, so the word boundaries came up for me, for you. And I get the impression that you have been having some challenges in figuring out where that boundary should be. I feel like there are a lot of times where it's just way too big and it's not really working for you because you're still like getting hurt or being ignored, like there's a negative thing. And I would like to suggest to you to maybe reevaluate them and bring them a little bit closer to you. And I'm trying to think of an example of what that would mean or what that would look like. Okay, interesting. Okay, so this is what they just said. So what they are suggesting is that you often will go to other people or look to other people to help you make a decision. And they are suggesting that, like I was just talking about with your question, that if you listen to your own decision. And I'm just wondering, okay, so like pendulums do not work for me, but there are some people that pendulums work really good. So maybe incorporating something like a pendulum so that if you have a thought or an idea, but you're uncertain of whether it's true or not, incorporating a tool so you can kind of like double check what's going on. And kind of bounce it off yourself pretty much. That might be a way to help navigate this situation that's going on. Okay. All right, let's see. Marco says he loves me. I love you too, Marco. Let's see. Hey, Ricky. And it says, good evening, Dr. Rita. Happy Thursday. Early weekend wishes. How lovely you are looking. Thank you. Amazingly cute. Thank you. And your hair looks fabulous. May I have a number 2, please? Thank you. Man, you just know how to suck it up there, Ricky. And so you sure can have a reading number 2. All right, and that's your card for today. Okay, so Ricky, I am sensing, and I'm going to say confusion in your space. I feel like sometimes you feel like you're going uphill, sometimes you feel like you're going downhill. But I feel like this uncertainty is not your uncertainty. I feel like it's the uncertainty of other people. You just want to know, like, where do I need to put my energy? Like, where's forward? And based on this, it has more of like a group dynamic thing. So it's not like, I want to do this, because I feel like you can be very directed that way. But this has more to do with, a group dynamic, a family dynamic, a work dynamic would fit this very well, where there's all these, like, I'm going to say flaky energies around you that, just want to circle jerk and not really get anything done. And you are not necessarily in the position to, I don't want to say that you can't do anything, but you kind of can't do anything. So my suggestion is to just enjoy the ride and kind of back your energy out. You know, I feel like you want to fix it or heal it or get it moving forward. And I would like for you to, even if it's just for a while, to go, and sit back and watch the ride, because you interjecting in it and you trying to make it be different isn't going to make it be different. And so you're just kind of spinning your wheels on that whole thing. That's my 2 cents for today. Let me know what you think. All right, go. And Christine's here. Hi, Christine. She says, hello, may I have a reading number 2, please? And thank you. You sure can. Okay, and that's your card for today. So, Christine, when I look at your energy, it just feels really unsettled. And I feel like that not feeling settled feels really uncomfortable for you. You know, because I just feel like you're used to having it be like way more grounded, and it's not. I'm sorry, but Raylan's kind of driving me crazy here. Go lay down. Come on. Go to your chair. Go. Go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. That's my good boy. You know, and it's interesting, I'm back to you, Christine, that I feel like your tools are being like not really that great. You know, so maybe for you, this is just one of those periods that you do the best you can. And, you know, with the thought, you know, of, well, maybe all I need to do is just breathe right now until I'm able to reconnect with myself, and have it be okay. And don't stress out about it, because we go through cycles, and sometimes we have cycles where we're just not connecting in a good way. Okay. Okay, and then Curtis says, I think we are always resonating. Curtis, we're always resonating. The input gets refracted or distorted by consciousness through the chakras as the output within the greater resonance. So I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, Curtis, but I totally agree. You know, so we send out energy, but it goes through our filters. And so if we hate broccoli, you know, we're sending out that like I hate broccoli vibe to the whole world, you know, and we are receiving energy that is coming from other people. I mean, it's coming from source, and source energy always is this direction. But then there are all those other chakras that are receiving energy from the world around us. And all of that is going through people's filters. And so it can be really distorted based on what we receive, or what we receive can be really distorted because it's going through everybody else's filters. So yes, very much so. So Susan says yes. So I'm hoping that that was because I gave her an awesome reading. Okay. And then O'Hora says, yes, I had that reaction. Okay, good. And then question, Unar says, do you think animals and plants have auras too? Well, I mean, animals, I totally know they do. I'm going to assume plants do too. I mean, they are living beings. You know, they've done those experiments where they play like hardcore heavy metal to one plant, and then like classical music to the other plant. And the plant that has the classical music is doing good, and then the one that has the heavy metal is not doing good, or they yell at the plant and are nice to the plant. And so they obviously are receiving something from the world around them. So, which says they are doing the same kind of thing as we do. Then Julie says, I love the diagrams. Oh, well, thank you so much. So that diagram is in my book. Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4, only available on soulhealer.com. Soulhealer.com. And it all comes autographed, which is priceless. Curtis says, when I watch or hear people get hurt, I get hurt also, as real as a pinprick. I hear that. All right, so I'm just going to read. So, hey there, Jess Cox. And then Burton Bro says, could I get a reading? Okay, so I'm going to go to Jess Burton. If you sit there and give me a number between 1 and 3, and I'm looking at the clock, and you're going to be my last reading because Jess is right there. Number 3. Hi, Jess. You're getting in right behind in the wire. Okay, Jess, and that's your card for today. So, Jess, I'm feeling like this loneliness around you. I'm feeling like, and I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to be very brief here. I'm feeling like your energy is shifting, which is good because it feels like it's shifting in a positive direction. But at the same time, your shifting is not resonating with the people around you. And so it's kind of like you're out of phase. And so like either they're irritating you or they're not liking you. Like it's creating this weird dynamic for you, which could leave you feeling lonely or estranged or like what's going on. But it's because your energy is shifting and your energy is growing, and the people that have been in your world either haven't made the shift, haven't made the upgrade, and they may or may not. So sometimes that's a sign of growth. And I wish I had something better to say, but it's true. All right, let's see. All right, there is Burton. He would like a number 2, and you're my last one for today, Burton, even though it looks like there's more comments down there. All right, Burton. And again, if this stuff is making sense to you, I would love to get some feedback, or you can also go to soulhealer.com, click on the Dr. Rita Live tab, and leave me a little something in the tip jar. Okay, so Burton, that's your card for today. Okay, Burton, slow down. I'm just going to say that. Slow down. Enjoy life. Enjoy things that are going on. It doesn't need to constantly be a rush out in front of you. It keeps you from enjoying the pleasures of what's going on in any given moment because you're always like 10 steps ahead, and then kind of have anxiety about, well, I'm not there yet. And it's not serving any good purpose other than leaving you a little bit upset because you're not that 5 steps ahead. So anyway, sorry it was so short. Come back earlier next week. And let me just okay, BU, first time here, would love to get to you, but my time is up. I just want to say hello. If you would like to come back next week, come a little early. I would love to give you a reading. I did just, Unar said, thanks, Dr. Rita. If you give me something to think about, I love your good advice and quotes. Oh, you're so welcome, Unar. Okay. All right, Violet, same thing to you. Come back next week. Come a little earlier. I would love to get to you. Thanks for coming to the show tonight. Julie says, thank you. Yvonne says, true. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Okay. Amy said, great reading. I have a new perspective on an old trauma that came right out of my own mouth the other day. Susan says, thank you. Yes, very true for me. Good. Thank you. Okay, Kathy, got to go. All right, guys, I'm not even going to read any more of these because the time is up. Anyway, if I didn't get a chance to read you, the show starts at 7 p.m. Central. Get here early because these slots fill up fast. So until next week, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Thursday Night Live. Be blessed.